Today, we're looking at some excerpts from the life of Sri Ramakrishna, specifically focusing on his interactions with Mathur.
Right, this really fascinating relationship. It shows so much about devotion, guidance.
Yeah.
A really unique spiritual connection.
Yeah. And we know you, our listener, are often looking for that quick but thorough knowledge, those aha moments. I think exploring this dynamic will definitely deliver.
We should find some, well, maybe surprising things about them, about their personalities, and just get a much better feel for how they interacted.
Okay, let's get into it then. The biography really starts by showing us Mathur's, incredible devotion. There's that famous statement he made.
Oh yeah. Friday, my wife, children, wealth, position, and everything is unreal, and Ramakrishna alone is real. I mean, wow.
That's a huge statement, isn't it? It's not just respect, it's like a total reordering of his reality.
Absolutely. This wasn't just, looking up to someone. It was a fundamental shift. Here's this guy, Mathur, pretty important in the world, right? Wealthy, influential.
Yeah.
And he's saying, Sri Ramakrishna is the only real thing. Everything else, unreal. It speaks to that Vedantic idea, Maya, the impermanence of the world.
So he really saw Sri Ramakrishna as the anchor, the eternal truth, and that shaped everything.
Completely. You see it in how much he relied on him, asking for guidance, trusting his wisdom. It wasn't just talk.
And there's a really powerful example of this during a Durga Puja festival, that whole incident with the immersion.
Ah, yes. That's quite a story. So Mathur had been deeply involved in the worship for days, really connecting with the image of the Divine Mother, Durga.
Right. Very intense.
Extremely. So when the time came for the immersion, putting the image in the Ganges River, which is the tradition.
He just couldn't do it.
He couldn't. He was apparently overcome with grief, like genuine sorrow, at the thought of separating from the image. He flat out refused.
And didn't he say something like, she's staying here, and anyone who tries to move her?
Pretty much. He declared the mother would continue to be worshipped right there, and threatened anyone who interfered. You can imagine the situation.
Bit of a crisis. His wife got involved, didn't she? She went to Sri Ramakrishna.
She did. She sought him out, hoping he could sort things out. And Sri Ramakrishna he approached Mathur very gently, asked him what was wrong.
And Mathur explained his anguish.
Yeah, this feeling of separation. And Sri Ramakrishna's response was just profound.
Yeah.
He gently touched Mathur's chest.
Ah, the touch.
Yes. And he explained, the last 3 days, she has accepted your worship outside in your hall, but henceforth, she will be much closer to you and accept your worship, being constantly present in your heart.
Wow. So shifting the focus from the external statue to the internal presence.
Exactly. Guiding him from the symbol to the reality within. And the text says that touch, those words, they instantly calmed Mathur.
Like a magic touch, the biography calls it. A pivotal moment for Mathur's understanding, it sounds like.
Absolutely transformative. Sri Ramakrishna believed, didn't he, that a spiritually realized person could use touch to sort of clear away impurities in someone else's mind. Reveal truth.
Yeah, that seems to be the idea.
And here, it looks like it helped Mathur move past that emotional attachment to the physical form and grasp the deeper, immanent nature of the divine. Shows the guru's role, really.
Definitely. Okay, another incident that really shows Mathur's faith was when he got seriously ill.
Oh, the abscess incident. Yes, that's another powerful one. He was gravely ill, in a lot of pain.
Believed he was dying, didn't he?
He did. And his main desire was just to see Sri Ramakrishna one last time. He kept asking for him.
And when Sri Ramakrishna arrived,
Mathur, despite the pain, asked for the dust from Sri Ramakrishna's feet. But interestingly, he specified it wasn't for healing the abscess. He knew he needed doctors for that.
Right. So what was it for?
As a blessing. A sacred blessing for his departure, as he saw it. For his journey onwards.
And Sri Ramakrishna's reaction then was also quite something.
He went straight into samadhi, that deep meditative state, and Mathur, full of reverence, placed his head at the master's feet.
And then?
Remarkably, Mathur started recovering soon after. He got better quite quickly.
So whether you see it as, a miracle or the power of faith, or maybe both.
It absolutely solidified Mathur's conviction in Sri Ramakrishna's spiritual power. No doubt about that.
It really shows how deeply connected they were, but it wasn't just one-way traffic, was it? Sri Ramakrishna also clearly cared deeply for Mathur.
Oh, absolutely. There's that bit where Sri Ramakrishna says he'd stay at Dakshineswar as long as Mathur lived.
And he even extended that, didn't he, to Mathur's son, Dwika?
Yes. He only left Dakshineswar after Dwarka also passed away. That shows real loyalty, a significant bond.
It does, and their dynamic wasn't always just guru-disciple in the strictest sense.
No, not at all. Apparently, unless Sri Ramakrishna was actually in samadhi, he'd often consult Mathur about things, ask his opinion.
On worldly matters.
Yeah, practical things, almost like a son asking a father for advice on navigating the world. Which is fascinating, considering their spiritual roles.
It really highlights the human side of it all, doesn't it? This revered figure valuing his devotees' practical wisdom.
And it went both ways. Sri Ramakrishna also felt responsible for making sure Mathur's wealth was used well, for good purposes.
And Mathur, in turn, was very protective of Sri Ramakrishna.
Extremely. He saw this incredible spiritual depth, this omniscience almost, but also a kind of childlike innocence in worldly things.
So he felt a duty to look after him physically.
Exactly. Just as Sri Ramakrishna guided him spiritually, Mathur felt he needed to protect Sri Ramakrishna in the material world. A real mutuality there.
So many layers. But life wasn't always smooth, even with Sri Ramakrishna's guidance. There's that story about Mathur getting into some trouble, legal trouble.
Ah, yes. It involved a fight, didn't it? Between Mathur's followers and some rivals. It escalated, ended up with the authorities involved.
And naturally, Mathur went to Sri Ramakrishna for help.
He did. But Sri Ramakrishna's initial reaction was, well, quite stern. Something like, "You rogue, you're always getting into scrapes and then running to me. What can I do? Go face the consequences."
Tough love, almost. Like a parent saying, "You made your bed."
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Holding him accountable. But then, after that initial reprimand, he softened a bit.
What did he say then?
He said, "Go your way. It will be as the mother wills." A bit ambiguous, right?
Yeah, not a definite promise of rescue.
No. But, as the story goes, Mathur did manage to avoid being arrested. So it suggests Sri Ramakrishna maybe offered some grace or blessing, even while making him own his actions. It's nuanced.
Definitely nuanced. Now, seeing Sri Ramakrishna in these states of samadhi, it's probably not surprising that Mathur wanted to experience something similar himself, right? Let's talk about the Bhava Samadhi episode.
Right. This is a really insightful part of the story. Mathur saw Sri Ramakrishna experiencing Bhava Samadhi, that state of intense spiritual emotion, ecstasy, being totally absorbed in the divine.
Often with physical signs like tears or trembling.
Exactly. Seeing this convinced Mathur more than ever of Sri Ramakrishna's divine nature, and he developed this deep yearning, this desire to feel that bliss himself.
So he asked Sri Ramakrishna for it directly.
He did, but Sri Ramakrishna was hesitant at first. He basically warned him, "Look, this kind of state might mess up your worldly duties. You've got an estate to run. If you achieve this, you won't be able to manage things. It'll all fall apart."
He foresaw the potential conflict between that intense spirituality and practical life.
Precisely. He seemed to understand that these states aren't just, fun experiences. They can be overwhelming if you're not prepared or if you have strong worldly ties. He said something like, wait. In the fullness of time, you will experience it. You are all right as you are enjoying both worldly and spiritual joy.
But Mathur persisted.
He did. And eventually, Sri Ramakrishna said he would ask Mathur about it. And not long after, Mathur got his wish.
He experienced Bhava Samadhi.
Yes, and just as Sri Ramakrishna predicted, it completely overtook him. The book describes him singing, laughing, dancing, weeping uncontrollably. He absolutely could not focus on his business or estate matters.
And his family didn't understand.
No, they thought he was ill. They called doctors, tried treatments, but of course that wasn't the issue, so it didn't help.
So Sri Ramakrishna's warning came true. What happened when Mathur realized this?
He finally sent for Sri Ramakrishna, pleaded for him to come. When Sri Ramakrishna arrived, he found Mathur just described red eyes, tears, trembling, but also filled with remorse.
What did Mathur say?
He basically begged, "I crave your forgiveness, Father. Be pleased to take back your bhava. I don't want it anymore." He confessed he couldn't handle his responsibilities in that state.
And Sri Ramakrishna reminded him.
Gently, "I told you so before, but you did not listen to me."
And Mathur's reply is quite honest, isn't it?
"Very. Quite true," replied Mathur. "But how could I know then that it would possess me like a ghost and that I would not be able to extricate myself when I wished?" He just hadn't grasped the intensity.
He learned the hard way.
He did. And Sri Ramakrishna calmed him down again with a touch. It really underlines that these powerful spiritual states often need preparation, purification.
Yeah.
They aren't just things you can switch on and off easily, especially when tied to the world.
A crucial lesson about balance. There's also that lovely, quite touching story about Mathur wanting to provide for Sri Ramakrishna financially, permanently, and his interaction with Sri Ramakrishna's mother, Devi.
Ah, yes. That reveals so much about her character. Mathur saw her visit as the perfect chance to finally set up some kind of permanent provision for Sri Ramakrishna. He really pressed her, urged her to ask for anything she wanted, anything at all.
He was wealthy, he could have given her almost anything.
Exactly. But Devi, she just couldn't think of anything she needed. She felt she had enough food, enough clothes. She was content.
So Mathur kept insisting.
He did. And finally, almost just to satisfy him, she came up with the smallest request imaginable.
What was it?
Well, if you must give something, buy for me an anna's worth of tobacco leaves. I want to be a tooth powder.
An anna's worth? That's tiny. Almost nothing.
Practically nothing. And Mathur's reaction, he was apparently deeply moved, even cried. He was just overcome by her simplicity, her complete lack of material desire.
And he said something quite profound then, didn't he?
He did. He marveled, who but such a mother could give birth to a son like Sri Ramakrishna? Recognizing that her incredible inner quality, her detachment, was reflected in her son.
It really speaks volumes, doesn't it? About the values underpinning everything.
Truly. Okay, finally, the biography mentions some visits Sri Ramakrishna made with Mathur to meet other notable people, including Devendranath Tagore.
Right, the founder of the Adi Brahmo Samaj, and Mathur knew him.
Yeah, they were classmates, apparently, back at Hindu college. So Mathur arranged the meeting. Sri Ramakrishna was curious to see Tagore, especially to observe his spiritual state during meditation.
He even asked to see his chest.
Yes, which sounds a bit unusual, but he apparently observed a kind of crimson glow there, interpreting it through his own spiritual framework.
And his overall assessment of Tagore, it was interesting, kind of mixed.
It was perceptive. He noted a certain degree of egoism, which he felt was almost inevitable given Tagore's wealth, intellect, social standing. But he didn't seem entirely critical.
No.
He actually compared him to King Janaka from the ancient texts.
Oh, the philosopher king.
Exactly. The one known for balancing worldly life and deep spiritual realization. Sri Ramakrishna said to him, "You are the King Janaka of this age. I heard that you have your mind fixed on God, though you are in the world, so I have come to see you."
So a compliment, in a way, acknowledging his spiritual inclination despite his worldly position.
Yes. And they talked about God. Tagore shared an analogy that the world is a chandelier, each creature a light bulb.
And Sri Ramakrishna had seen something similar.
He said he had a comparable vision himself, so there was some resonance there.
But it didn't lead to a lasting connection, did it? There was an invitation.
Right. Tagore invited him to their anniversary celebration. But Sri Ramakrishna was very clear. His attendance depended entirely on God's will, on his own unpredictable spiritual state at the time. "That depends upon the Lord," I said. "You see my condition."
And then there was the issue of what to wear.
Yes. Tagore asked him to dress in a specific formal way, like a babu, a respectable gentleman. And Sri Ramakrishna just refused point blank. "That is impossible. I can't be dressed like a babu."
So that was that.
That was pretty much the end of that engagement. The invitation was withdrawn. And there's also a quick mention of another visit to someone called Dinanath Mukherjee, which wasn't very successful either, mainly because the house was packed for his son's ceremony.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, it's clear this relationship between Sri Ramakrishna and Mathur was, well, extraordinary. Just so many facets.
Absolutely. You have this incredibly deep devotion from Mathur, this mutual care and respect, faith that gets tested by illness and worldly problems, and this fascinating navigation of intense spiritual states versus everyday life.
It's a very rich picture.
It is. And while it's one specific story, rooted in its time and place, it really does offer broader insights, doesn't it? About guru-disciple dynamics, about the human search for meaning, the sheer power of belief.
Definitely. And that brings us to our final thought for you, the listener, thinking about how powerful belief can be and all the different ways people connect with the spiritual. What parts of this story, this unique bond between Sri Ramakrishna and Mathur, really resonate with your own ideas about faith and guidance?
Something to think about.
Indeed. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
I hope you like this chapter. We need volunteers and sponsors to create content with even better quality and with more variety. If you wish to join this initiative as a volunteer or sponsor, please click the links given in description below. To help us reach more viewers, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Biography Central. Thank you for your time. It means a lot. Namaste.